So I want to make this video to discuss the aftermath of the election. So at this point, we know Donald Trump will be in office. What this kind of means for Black women. I think this is definitely going to be a call to continue to be focused on self. Okay, so we know with the data that Black women overwhelmingly voted for Hillary Clinton, and that white men and women voted overwhelmingly for Trump. Um, Now, what this means in reality is that, Black women were trying to avoid this crazy person from being elected into office, basically trying to do damage control. And no one can say that we were particularly excited about Hillary Clinton, but it was a choice that made sense under the circumstances. That's reality. However, we live in a society that doesn't really give a shit about reality. It's more focused on illusions and what things look like on the outside. Case in point, Donald Trump is not qualified, but he gives the illusion of power. He's white, male, and rich. This is everything that this is God to America, really to the world, but to America particularly, that is God. Um, so it gives the illusion of power, whereas voting for Hillary Clinton now makes us aligned with I hate to say this, but the loser, right? The losing side. And that is what we're going to now kind of be associated with. What that means is we then can run the risk of becoming a target in an even more marginalized group. It's come to my attention that apparently some people, some Black men, are already jumping on the bandwagon to talk crap about us. I would say this is not surprising because, as I mentioned in my other videos, that prior to the elections, Black men were already starting to get wishy-washy and flaky. So for them, it's always about power, and it's always about not necessarily building the power, but aligning themselves with whatever they feel is going to be the powerful entity. So it's not about reality. It's not about morality. It's about what looks like power and who looks like the vulnerable person, or the less powerful person. Um, so now that we have our names kind of out there as Black women, we have our image kind of out there. With 2016, like I've said in previous videos, this was a big year for Black women. So, and we ended it now on kind of a iffy low point, if you will, because on the one hand, it's good to see that no one can say that Black women didn't show up, but on the other hand, now it's like we showed up for the person who clearly the rest of America was not in line with. So now we're associated with a losing side. So that makes our image a little bit more vulnerable to attack. I would say that no matter what happens, let's avoid any self-loathing. Let's avoid any mind games that will try to get us to uh, doubt ourselves or regret anything. Even for those who didn't decide to vote, I mean, it made sense under the circumstances too. And I want to let me backtrack too about this idea of illusion versus reality, because we know the reality of the situation is that Black women are now, like, I think the most educated demographic in the United States. But again, that's not going to matter compared to the illusion of us being aligned with the loser. So, um, so I say, coming back to that, like I said, let's avoid any self-loathing. I would expect people to start to act out. I think what's going to happen with, I think white men's role in this may be very, like, kind of petty comments and remarks. Probably some memes floating around with Black women's images. You know, uh, I had already seen something with, of course, Beyonce, because that's like the biggest name out right now. Um, attacking her for wearing weaves and just in being like petty and bitchy, um, off of by using a black woman's image to be petty and bitchy. So I would kind of expect things like that. I think we just need to stand firm, stay supportive of one another as best as possible, defend one another where necessary. Maybe we don't have to feed into every single thing. Let's ignore certain people who are going to try and feed off of our energy. We have to see these attacks as like a zombie, a dead person looking for flesh. We have to know the time and place when to stand up and defend ourselves and when to just be like, I'm gonna let you starve to death. Some really great blogs and people to consider and follow would be Muslim Bushido, her blog. I like Angry Divas, and that's Divas spelled with Devas. You can look her up. Um, let's just stay focused, stay supportive of each other. Let's try our best to continue to support black business, but particularly black women's businesses. Because, we're not quite out of the woods. In a weird way, I feel kind of like okay with Trump being in office for the simple fact that it's like, all right, they got what they wanted. The tension that's been brewing, I feel like, has finally like bubbled forth. I was almost a little bit nervous of Hillary winning because I felt like it was going to just add to the tension for another 4 years, and then the shit was just gonna really explode. And I feel like at least this, white people can have their attention release. But with that being said, there are definitely going to be some really arrogant, bold moves on their part. So one of my a piece of advice I have for black women, because I had an experience about a year ago. Then one of these there's an artist I follow. She tweeted a similar experience, and Solange actually tweeted a similar experience that happened to her. I think earlier this year, particularly with white women. Um, And my takeaway from that was I would offer this advice that, be mindful of your surroundings. Try to notice people before they notice you. I find that it cuts down on some of the bullshit when people realize that, you're aware of what's going on. They like to catch you off guard, you know, and, I don't like to get too paranoid because the truth of the matter is, as an African American person, like, it's not to say that we're used to mistreatment, but we've been through worse. And I do believe that, um, you know, there's no need to necessarily, like, get too paranoid, but just be prepared for stuff. So be mindful of your surroundings. Um, be on point. Be careful of the things we might say and do in front of certain people. Um, Some people feel like leaving the country is an answer. If you feel like you need to get a passport and go somewhere else, I mean, I guess so. I don't know if that's really going to solve anything in the long run. Um, some other great advice I've heard circulated is, increase your skill set as best you can. Multiple streams of income. Um, Easier said than done, but, I think all of the energy that people have used us for, whether it was for, you know, the support for Hillary, um, getting us to back certain things, it's time for us to kind of like recapture that energy and bring it for ourselves and be selfish with it now. Now it's time to be stingy. Um, I respect people's politics and people's need to discuss intersectionality between us and other marginalized groups. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we are the ones as black women who are the face of, the Hillary Clinton support. Um, and we are always the ones that people kind of look to use our support to better themselves, and oftentimes it's not reciprocated. So I kind of feel like, hey, if activism is your calling, that's cool, but now, let's just have a little balance here and kind of learn to rein in some of that and not allow others to benefit off of that. Like, I think it's time for us to be a little bit more selfish with our energies and, you know, focus on ourselves and other black women. And